The mockery begins. The grand hall of the Galactic Empire was built to make visitors feel small. Its ceilings stretched so high that the clouds themselves seemed to drift inside. Silver pillars rose like mountains, and banners of conquered worlds hung on every wall. The hall was filled with alien warlords, admirals, and noble rulers. They came to witness something unusual, an audience with the people of Earth. At the center of the hall, a platform glowed with cold blue light. On it stood 3 humans, 2 men and 1 woman. They wore simple black uniforms, plain compared to the golden armor of the alien lords. Yet their faces were calm. Too calm. The Emperor of the Galactic Empire leaned forward on his throne. His eyes were cold, his voice booming. "Humans," he said, "your time is over. You are not fit to stand among the stars. You will surrender or you will burn." A ripple of cruel laughter spread through the chamber. Alien mouths stretched into fanged grins. Some clapped their claws against the floor in amusement. To them, it was already decided. Earth was weak, its fleets were small, its colonies scattered. Against the Empire's billions, humanity was nothing. But something strange happened. The humans laughed too. Not the nervous laugh of prey, not the laugh of fools. It was sharp, cold, and filled with something the aliens could not understand. The Emperor's smile faded. "Why do you laugh?" he demanded. The human woman, tall and steady, tilted her head. Her voice was soft but carried through the chamber. "You gather your fleets, you threaten us. You think we are afraid. But tell me, does this sound like fear to you?" She laughed again, and her companions joined her. The sound echoed in the chamber, filling the air with unease. The warlords frowned. The admirals shifted in their seats. They had expected anger, begging, or tears, but not this. Not laughter. One alien general rose from his chair, his scaled skin shimmering with rage. "You mock us. Do you think your fragile world can resist?" The Empire, the taller human man, smiled. "Resist? No, that is not the word." He paused, eyes glinting. "We endure," the aliens muttered among themselves. Words like arrogance and madness hissed through the hall. The Emperor slammed his staff against the floor. The hall shook. "Enough. You are insects standing before a storm. We have crushed worlds far greater than yours. Why should Earth be any different?" The second man stepped forward. His voice was low, almost a whisper, but it silenced the hall. "Because, Emperor, you mistake silence for weakness. You mistake patience for fear, and you mistake laughter for surrender." For a moment, there was only silence. The humans stood, tall, unbowed, while the Empire's finest tried to understand. Then the hall burst into laughter again, this time from the aliens. They laughed harder than before, mocking, pointing, jeering. To them, the humans were fools, playing at bravery. Before their execution, the Emperor leaned back in his throne, his smile returning. "Let them laugh," he said. "Soon they will scream." The human woman's eyes narrowed. "No, Emperor, it is you who will scream. And when you do, we will still be laughing." A hush fell over the chamber. The words were dangerous. Number 6. One ever spoke to the Emperor like that? No one dared. A warlord with horns as long as spears snarled. Kill them now. Make their world an example. But the Emperor raised his hand. No. Let them return. Let them carry their arrogance back to their people. When our fleets arrive above Earth, their laughter will die. The humans bowed slightly, not in respect, but as if mocking the Emperor's command. Then they turned and walked out of the hall. Their footsteps were steady, unhurried. The aliens whispered in confusion. Why did the humans show no fear? Why did they laugh in the face of death? The emperor dismissed the council. Yet, even as the lords and generals left, a shadow of doubt began to spread. One admiral whispered to another, "Did you see their eyes? That was not madness. That was something else." The other frowned. "Something else?" "Yes," the admiral said slowly. "It was the look of hunters, and I fear we may have mistaken them for prey." But his words were drowned out by the sound of laughter still echoing in his memory. Outside the hall, the three humans walked calmly through the shining corridors of the imperial palace. The younger man finally spoke. "Do you think they believed us?" The woman smiled faintly. "They don't need to believe. They only need to laugh. Because the more they laugh," she looked up at the stars visible through the palace windows, "the harder it will be when they realize the truth." The older man chuckled softly. "And by then, it will be too late." They walked into the shadows, leaving behind a galaxy that thought it had already won. But somewhere, deep in the void, machines were awakening. Weapons built for war, long forgotten, stirred in their sleep. And the echo of human laughter carried across the stars like a warning. The Galactic Empire thought the humans were weak. But weakness does not laugh in the face of death. Only predators do. Asterisk, the hidden card. The Galactic Empire wasted no time. After the human delegation left the Great Hall, orders spread like wildfire. Fleets were moved. Colonies were targeted. Spies were deployed to the Empire. This was routine. They had broken countless civilizations before. But something about the humans lingered like a thorn. Their laughter still echoed in the minds of the admirals and warlords. Why did they laugh? On the outer edge of the galaxy, a council of admirals gathered in a dark chamber. Holograms of star maps floated above the table. Colored dots marked human colonies small, scattered, easy prey. Admiral Korth, a reptilian with scales as black as night, spoke first. "We strike fast. Their colonies are weak. Once we burn a few, the rest will surrender." A horned warlord slammed his claw on the table. "No, we must make Earth itself bleed. Crush their homeworld first. Let their species see the fire before their skies." But another admiral raised a trembling hand. His voice was cautious. I do not agree. Did you not see them? They were not afraid. It was not bravado. It was not madness. It was," he struggled for words, "confidence." The others laughed at him, just as they had laughed at the humans. Admiral Korth hissed, "Confidence from primitives means nothing. Their ships are few, their weapons outdated, their colonies unguarded. They hide behind words because they have nothing else." But deep in his heart, even Korth felt the unease. Something in their eyes had disturbed him. Meanwhile, far from the Empire's palace, on the cold surface of Mars, a human base lay hidden under the dust. To outsiders, it was nothing but ruins, abandoned mining stations, and broken domes. But beneath the surface stretched vast tunnels, sealed for centuries. Inside, humans walked among giant machines covered in dust. Some were half buried, some silent as tombs. But when the engineers touched the old panels, the machines stirred. Red lights blinked, massive gears turned. Forgotten engines rumbled like thunder waking from a long sleep. A human commander stood in the control room, his face lit by the glow of awakening weapons. "The Empire thinks we are weak," he said softly. Let them believe it a little longer. One of his officers frowned. Do you think the old war machines will still obey? They were built in a darker age, for battles beyond reason. Commander's eyes were cold. Then they are perfect, because the Empire believes reason will win. We will show them something else. Back in the Empire, spies brought their reports. They had searched Earth and its colonies. They found farms, cities, small fleets, and minor weapons. Nothing dangerous, nothing unusual. The Emperor's advisors relaxed. It is as we thought, they said. The humans are bluffing. The Emperor leaned back, but his eyes were sharp. Then why do I still hear their laughter in my dreams? His chamber grew silent. None dared answer. On the far side of the galaxy, whispers spread. Neutral traders told stories of strange signals near Earth, old ruins glowing in the dark, massive, shadows moving across the void where no fleet should exist. Some dismissed it as lies. Others shivered. One smuggler, drunk in a spaceport, whispered to his companions, I saw it. I saw a ship bigger than a city, hidden behind the shadow of Saturn. It wasn't new, it was ancient, older than the Empire itself, and it was waking. Up, his friends laughed, calling him a fool. But when he tried to drink more, his hands shook so badly he spilled his glass dot in secret rooms. The human leaders met again. They did not wear crowns or gold armor. They wore the simple clothes of soldiers and workers. On the table before them lay an ancient map etched in steel, worn with time. The map showed more than stars. It showed places marked with a warning. Do not unseal. A young officer pointed. Here, under Europa. Here, beneath the Pacific. And here, in the asteroid belt. The machines are ready. The woman from the Imperial Hall stood at the head of the table. Her eyes burned with determination. The Empire thinks our strength is our fleets. They are wrong. Our strength is what we endured. We were forged in fire on a death world that kills the weak every day. They cannot understand us. They cannot understand why we laugh. She paused, her voice heavy. But soon they will. The Empire prepared its fleets. Thousands of warships moved into formation, forming a wall of steel and fire across the stars. Admiral Korth stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the void ahead. His second officer approached. Sir, the humans still do not surrender. They do not even answer our threats. Korth's tail twitched. Then they are fools. Their silence will cost them everything. But even as he spoke, a thought returned. The laughter, the eyes dot, and for the first time in decades of war, Admiral Korth felt something he had almost forgotten, fear on Mars. The ground shook as something massive rose from the tunnels. Dust rained from the ceiling. Alarms blared. The old machines roared, their engines hungry for war. The human commander smiled grimly. The Empire thinks we hide in silence. But silence is not weakness. It is the breath before the storm. Above him, a Titan-class warship lifted into the sky, its hull scarred from another age, its cannons like mountains. The galaxy had not seen such monsters in thousands of years, and humanity was ready to unleash them. Asterisk, monsters unleashed the first. Strike came quietly. Admiral Korth's fleet had surrounded a small human colony on the edge of the Orion Arm. It was nothing more than farms and mining stations, barely defended by a few patrol ships. Easy prey. From his flagship, Korth gave the order, destroy their defenses, burn their world. Let the others see what happens to those who mock the Empire. The fleet advanced. Beams of energy cut through the darkness. The tiny human ships lit up in fire and shattered like glass. Colonists screamed as the sky filled with the glow of alien weapons. The warlords aboard the Empire's ships laughed. It was easy, too easy, but then silence alarms began to ring across the alien fleet. Sensors picked up shadows in the void, massive shapes, cold and silent, drifting just beyond the range of their scanners. Korth barked an order. Identify those objects. His officers scrambled. They are ships, sir. But not like any we've seen. The shadows moved, slowly at first, then with terrifying speed. Out of the void, a giant rose, a Titan-class warship, older than the Empire itself, broke through the darkness. Its hull was black, scarred, and jagged like the bones of some ancient beast. Red lights burned across its surface, like eyes opening after a long sleep. The alien crews stared in horror. The ship was bigger than anything they had seen, longer than a city, wider than their entire fleet combined. Korth froze. His voice cracked. That cannot be human. But the comms filled with a human voice. Calm, cold, laughing. Did you really think we were unarmed? The Titan's cannons fired. Beams of raw energy tore through the Empire's fleet. Entire warships exploded in blinding light. Dozens of ships vanished in seconds. The colony below cheered as the hunters became the hunted. The Empire fought back, desperately. Swarms of fighters launched, missiles streaked through space, battleships fired in unison. The void burned with war, but the Titan was unstoppable. Its shields turned enemy fire into sparks. Its weapons cut through armor like paper. The alien crew screamed as their ships broke apart one by one and through it all. The humans laughed. On the bridge of the Titan, Captain Elias stood tall. His face was calm, his eyes sharp. Around him, his crew worked without fear. One officer reported, "Enemy fleets collapsing. Captain, Admiral Korth's flagship is exposed." Elias smiled faintly. "Patch me through." The comms connected. Korth's face appeared, twisted in rage and fear. Elias spoke softly. "Do you hear it, Admiral? That sound? That is the laughter of a species you thought broken. That is the laughter of predators." Korth roared, "You are monsters." Elias laughed. "Yes, and you are prey." The Titan's cannons fired again. Korth's flagship exploded in a fireball that lit the stars. News spread like wildfire. Word of the battle reached the Empire's core worlds. A single human ship had destroyed an entire fleet. The weak primitives had unleashed something. The galaxy thought long gone. The Galactic Council panicked. Some called it impossible. Others whispered the truth. Humanity had awoken monsters from its own dark history. Everywhere, aliens asked the same question. What else are they hiding? Meanwhile, in the hidden bunkers of Earth, more Titans stirred, engines roared. Armored giants rose from the seas, from the moons, from the forgotten tunnels of Mars. Humanity had not just one hidden monster. They had many. Children watched from cities as the sky filled with their shadows. Old men whispered prayers. Young soldiers laughed nervously, their blood burning with pride. The human woman from the council, Commander Lyra, stood before a vast assembly. Her voice carried across the crowd. The Empire thought our silence meant fear. They thought our laughter meant surrender. But now they see. Our laughter is the sound of chains breaking. Our silence is the breath before war. And our monsters. She raised her hand as another Titan rose from the ocean behind her, water crashing down its sides. Our monsters are awake. The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices shaking the sky. Back in the imperial palace, the emperor raged. He smashed his staff against the floor, his voice booming. Impossible. One world cannot hold such weapons. Find out where they came from. Find out how they survived. But none of his advisors had answers. One admiral whispered, trembling, "Your Majesty, if they have more of those titans, the balance of power will break. The empire itself may fall." The emperor's eyes blazed with fury. "Then we must burn them before they spread. Gather every fleet, every weapon. Humanity will be crushed before they rise further." But even as he spoke, doubt crept into his voice. The humans had laughed in his face. And now he understood why. On the battlefield, the wreckage of the Empire's ships drifted silently. Fires burned across the void. The Titan moved slowly, like a predator unhurried by prey. Its comes echoed through the stars with one final message. Tell your Emperor, tell your warlords, tell your entire galaxy we were never weak. We were only waiting. The laughter followed, echoing across every channel, cold and unstoppable in that moment. The galaxy realized the truth. The humans were not survivors, they were hunters, and their monsters were only beginning to wake. Asterisk, the Empire shakes, the news spread like a disease. One Titan, one battle, one massacre. The Empire had lost an entire fleet ships worth more than 100. Colonies destroyed by what they once called primitives. At first, many in the galaxy refused to believe it. Some called it propaganda. Others whispered it was a myth, a trick of shadows. But the wreckage drifting in space told the truth. Broadcasts of the burning colony carried proof. And then came the laughter called. Human laughter echoing across every intercepted channel. The galaxy could not ignore it. In the grand palace of the Empire, silence filled the council chamber. Hundreds of alien leaders sat in fear, their voices low. They should not have this power, one warlord hissed. His claws scraped the table. This is blasphemy. The humans were supposed to be weak. Another counselor whispered, perhaps we should negotiate. The chamber erupted in anger. Negotiate with primitives? Never. We are the Empire. But the doubt had already been spoken aloud, and once spoken, it could not be silenced. Far from the palace, ordinary citizens of the Empire heard rumors. Merchants carried tales of human titans crossing the stars. Smugglers swore they had seen weapons as large as moons. On the lower worlds, fear began to spread. If the mighty fleets of the Empire could burn in seconds, what chance did smaller colonies have? Whispers filled the streets. The humans are coming. Admiral Cern, the Emperor's most trusted strategist, stood at the center of a war room. Star maps glowed around him, showing the human colonies. He pointed with his claw. We must crush them quickly, before they awaken more of their hidden beasts. Another admiral growled. How many titans do they have? 1, 2. But Cern's voice was heavy. If they had only 1, they would not laugh. If they had only 2, they would not mock us so openly. No, they have more. Perhaps many more. His words sent a chill through the room. Meanwhile, on Earth, preparations had reached their peak. Beneath the oceans, enormous structures stirred. A Titan rose from the Pacific, its armored head breaking the waves like a mountain tearing through. The sea, on Europa, deep below the ice, another Titan lit up the frozen caverns with red light. Children watched from space stations. as the sky filled with shadows of steel giants. Farmers in the fields stopped their work as engines roared overhead. Soldiers marched with pride as the Titans walked again. Commander Lyra stood before her people, her voice calm but fierce. The Empire thinks we are weak. They think we are prey, but they do not understand. We are predators, born from a dead world. We faced extinction 1,000 times, and still we rose. The Titans are not our weapons. They are our memory. They are proof that we never forgot who we are. The crowd roared, voices shaking the earth itself. In the deep chambers of the Empire, the Emperor met with his closest circle. His voice thundered with fury. They cannot be allowed to spread. If even half of these stories are true, the humans threaten everything we have built. We must break them now. But even as he raged, he saw the fear in his own counselors' eyes. One of them whispered, "And if we cannot?" The Emperor struck him down with his staff, but the whisper remained in the room, heavier than any weapon. On the edges of the galaxy, more battles flared. Imperial fleets attacked human outposts, only to vanish into silence. Distress calls came, cut short by static. Survivors spoke of Titans moving through the void like shadows, of weapons that could burn whole fleets in seconds, of laughter echoing on open comes as their ships were torn apart. One captain's last message was played. Across the Empire, they are not what we thought. They are not weak. They are hunters, and we are already in their jaws. The galaxy trembled. Allies of the Empire began to falter. Some secretly reached out to humanity, offering aid, hoping to survive whatever storm was coming. Others fortified their worlds, afraid that laughter would one day echo above their skies. The balance of power was breaking. In the shadows of Saturn, Captain Elias stood on the bridge of his Titan. His crew worked in silence, their eyes fixed on the stars. "Reports from the scouts," one officer said. "The Empire is gathering its grand armada. They will send everything against us." Elias nodded slowly. "Good, let them come. They think more ships mean more strength, but they still do not understand." Another officer asked quietly, "What do they not understand, Captain?" Elias smiled faintly, his eyes cold as the void. "That humanity laughs, not because we are strong, but because we have been broken before, and we are stronger for it. The Empire fights with fear of loss. We fight with nothing left to lose." On the far side of the galaxy, the Grand Armada of the Empire gathered. Tens of thousands of warships, stretching from one end of the stars to the other. The largest force in history. The Emperor himself stood at the head of the fleet, his eyes blazing with wrath. "Bring me their Titans. Burn their worlds. I want their laughter silenced forever." The stars shook as the greatest fleet in the galaxy prepared for war. But in the silence between worlds, the Titans moved. Their engines rumbled like thunder. Their weapons glowed like suns. And across the human channels, laughter echoed again. Cold. Unstoppable, the Empire was mighty, but it was shaking, and humanity had only just begun. Asterisk, the final blow. The galaxy burned, across 1,000 star systems. Fleets clashed, worlds trembled, and skies glowed with fire. But the greatest battle of all gathered in one place, the dark edge of the Orion Arm, where the Empire's Grand Armada faced humanity's Titans. The Empire's fleet was the largest in history. Tens of thousands of warships stretched across the void like an endless wall of steel. Their engines lit up the darkness like suns, their weapons charged and ready. At the center of it all stood the Emperor's flagship, an enormous dreadnought. larger than cities, armed with weapons designed to shatter moons. The Emperor's voice thundered across the Cums, carried to every soldier in his fleet today. We erase the mistake of humanity. Today, we end their laughter. A roar of alien voices answered him. The order was given. The armada advanced. On the other side, the Titans waited. 5 of them now, their black hulls gleaming with scars of ancient wars. They moved like giants, slow but unstoppable, their weapons humming with energy older than the Empire itself. On the bridge of the lead Titan, Captain Elias stood calm. Around him, his crew prepared for war. They outnumber us 100 to 1. An officer whispered. Elias smiled faintly. Then they will fall 100 times harder. The Cums opened. Across every human channel, laughter echoed, cold, sharp, defiant. The battle began. The void erupted in fire. The Empire's fleets unleashed everything. Missiles streaked like swarms of fireflies. Beams of energy cut across the stars. Entire sections of space lit up brighter than suns. The Titans were drowned in the storm of destruction. For a moment, it seemed the Empire's might would crush them. But then the Titans answered. Cannons fired, tearing through battleships as if they were paper. Shock waves rippled across the void, turning fleets into clouds of burning wreckage. One Titan's weapon unleashed a pulse that shattered hundreds of enemy ships in a single strike. Another fired a beam so bright it carved through the armada like a blade through flesh. Every time the Empire destroyed one human ship, 10 of their own fell. The laughter grew louder on the Emperor's flagship. Panic spread among the officers. They are tearing through us. One shouted. The Emperor roared, striking him down with his staff. Silence. We are the Empire. We. Do not bow to primitives. But even he could feel it, the weight of fear creeping into his heart. The Titans pressed forward, step by step, like predators closing in on prey. Entire wings of the Empire's fleet broke formation, retreating in chaos. Ships collided, soldiers screamed, and discipline crumbled on Earth. Billions watched the battle unfold through transmissions. Cities erupted in cheers with every Titan strike, every burning enemy ship. For the first time in history, the entire species stood united, not in fear, but in pride. Commander Lyra's voice spread across the human networks. Do you see it? The Empire thought we would kneel, but now they kneel before us. Today, humanity's laughter becomes the sound of victory. The final confrontation came at the center of the battle. The Emperor's dreadnought faced the lead Titan head-on. The 2 giants clashed, weapons tearing space apart. The Emperor's ship unleashed beams that burned through shields, hammering the Titan again and again. The Titan staggered, its armor shattering, flames bursting from its side. On its bridge, alarms blared. Officers shouted warnings, but Elias stood calm. Hold steady, he said. We only need one shot. The Emperor's face appeared on the Cums, twisted with rage. You will fall, human. Your Titans are nothing. I am the Emperor of the galaxy. Elias stared at him, his eyes cold, and then he laughed. Emperors rise, empires fall. But humanity endures. With a final command, the Titan's main cannon fired. A beam of raw energy burst forth, brighter than a sun, tearing through the Emperor's dreadnought. The colossal ship split in half, flames bursting from its core. The explosion shook the stars, sending shock waves across the battlefield. The Emperor's final scream echoed into silence, and then nothing. The armada froze, leaderless, broken. The laughter of humanity filled the void. Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. The Emperor was dead, his armada destroyed, his fleets shattered. The empire that had ruled for centuries trembled on the edge of collapse. Some worlds rebelled instantly, rising against their governors. Others begged humanity for mercy. The old order was falling apart, piece by piece, and humanity stood tall, not as prey, not as victims, but as the hunters who had brought the empire to its knees. On the ruins of the battlefield, the surviving titans drifted among the wreckage, their hulls burned, scarred but unbroken. On the bridge of his ship, Elias looked out at the stars. His crew waited in silence. He spoke quietly, but his voice carried strength. This is not the end. The empire will fracture, but it will not vanish overnight. Others will rise, others will test us. But let them come. We are humanity. We laugh in the face of death, and we will laugh forever. The crew bowed their heads, pride burning in their eyes. The comms opened once more, broadcasting to the galaxy. Let it be known, humanity does not beg. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity laughs. And when we laugh, empires fall. The laughter echoed again, carrying across the stars, unstoppable, unforgettable. The galaxy had learned its final lesson. The humans were not weak. They were monsters, born from a death world, and now nothing could silence their laughter.